welcome to another episode of the Beyond the Fence podcast presented by Headbanger Sports with your hosts, Coach Rack, Chris, and Mike. Today we are joined by the Bruce Bolt CEOs, Gard and Bear Meyer. Gard and Bear founded Bruce Bolt in 2017 and have taken the baseball world by storm with their batting gloves. They're the only gloves I will wear. Great to see you guys. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you too, man. It's been a minute, but I'm glad to be back talking to you. And Chris, good to see you.
Yeah, it was. Thank you guys for taking the time to jump on with us. It's we're very appreciative. Between all the traveling around the United States that you guys are doing right now and going to meet all your pro players that you have now, it's you guys have came a long way since the first days that we talked on the phone.
Yeah, that's he hasn't been doing any of the traveling. He just golfs and he makes me do the traveling. So
perfect.
But, we won't take away from the fact that he does still put work into this company. A lot of it too, but he just golfs. He makes me travel.
I think that we usually make it about 4 to 5 minutes into the podcast before we talk about golf, just across the board. We really need to set up a golf day with all of us because I also happen to be obsessed with golf. And when you guys were off figuring out your internet stuff, I was talking about how I just got the new P790s that I'm super excited to try out. So anyways, a golf date is definitely in the near future.
Something to do with baseball, sports, and golf. Everybody that plays baseball or softball wants to go golfing. So it sounds almost like Bruce Bolt should come out with some golf gloves or something.
They already did, man. I wear them.
I know. I have a pair. I was giving them a shout out.
Bear, when you they mentioned traveling. What's your schedule been looking like the past couple months? Even just for me filming content, I noticed myself having to go up to Oregon for this YouTube game. And, there's been a lot of travel involved. And you and I are like similar age. What's that been like for you the past few months? Have you gotten to travel a lot? Do you like it? What's that experience been?
It's fun for me for sure. It gets tiring, after a little bit, but it's always really cool to go and see these guys that we're working with, like Bader and Nimmo and Ian. Haven't gotten to see Bader yet, but the schedule's been, we do our glove giveaway with each guy. So my schedule for which month was it that I was out? It was
mostly July.
August. I was out just kind of traveling. I had a whole week where we actually worked with the NECBL this year and provided them with gloves. So I went up to New England. That was the start of my trip. Then I made my way out to Chicago. Then I was in New York with Brandon. So Chicago with Ian, New York with Brandon. And then finally made my way back to Austin after a week. So travel hasn't been too crazy, but it has been. And then after that, I actually went to San Diego for area code. So it's a lot of travel in a very short period of time. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm blessed to have the opportunity to be able to go and do things like these. It's really cool to do, and it's really cool to experience the different places in the country that, I've never been to Boston, and I got to go to a Red Sox game and
go Sox.
I'm not a huge Red Sox guy, so I'm not shouting out the Red Sox.
And the whole Bader thing is still salty to me right now. So we're not gonna talk about the Bader experience right now. I'm a Yankees guy, and I absolutely love Bader being there. So him going out, I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm not excited about what's in center field now, but I'm a big Bader guy, and I think he's a great athlete and probably one of the hardest hustlers in the game. So
we agree.
Seeing him leave was not a good thing for Yankees guys.
I don't think there were any Yankees that actually enjoyed that. I saw so many upset posts on TikTok and Instagram, just we lost our guy, sad music behind him too, almost made you want to cry.
But you know who liked that? Red Sox fans.
That sums up the whole Red Sox fan experience in one.
See, this is bad. I am not up to date with anything, so I just Googled where Harrison Bader went because I should have known that, but I didn't. But I'm now up to speed. It seems that the Reds have acquired him. Is that correct?
Yeah, hopefully he's going to start talking with Ellie a little bit, get him on the Bruce Bolt train.
Hey, absolutely. That'd be sick.
The good thing about him being with the Reds now, I loved him as a Yankee. Good thing is he's now back in a playoff race, with a team that can win some games.
Salty fans in Texas now and salty fans in Boston. So we'll call it a day and just move on from the whole Bader conversation.
I don't know why I'm salty. We got a terrible team and we're ahead of y'all.
Listen, I don't know if anybody, do you guys actually follow along with the whole Yankee experience at all? Like, we're at the youngest that we've been in almost 30 years at 25 and a half.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season, we were one of the oldest teams in the entire major leagues. So we're headed in a good direction. So
Last place.
I'm just saying, I would love
Great
for my
direction.
kid to be able to wear a pair of Jason Dominguez gloves. So
I got a question for you guys. So around the start of the, well, this is sort of shifting gears here, but kind of on the same subject. So you guys got all these big leaguers that you're working with. You got, Bader, Nimmo. How did you first start? Who was the first big leaguer to wear your gloves, and how did you guys reach out to them? Hey, try these out. Did they reach out to you? How did that happen?
So our first big leaguer was actually Terrence Gore, known for winning a lot of World Series titles with not a lot of at-bats. So we actually got to him. It was in the very, very beginning. It was 2019. So before the 2020 year where we kind of started to take off, I was 2 gloves a day out of my house, going to school. I was a junior at the time. So spring training had just started. We have a good family friend, Trey Hillman, who used to be a manager in the big leagues. He's jumped around, bench coach, he's been a manager in Korea and Japan. But he was with the Astros at the time, but his daughter was dating, is now married to Brett Phillips. So because of that, we were able to get Brett some gloves. He wore them for spring training, and just out of nowhere, Terrence, who was with the Royals at the time, which is where Brett was, reached out to us via Instagram DMs, said he wanted to try some gloves. So we sent him a couple pairs, and he ended up, I think that year with the Royals, or I know that year with the Royals was his best year. He saw the field most of the time. He had an above 300 average for a lot of the year. And he wore the batting gloves, when he would bat, but then eventually he became just a pinch runner again. And he would hold the batting gloves in his hand when he ran the bases. So that was our TV exposure.
that's an old school thing, though, like before sliding mitts. So that's what we used to do as kids. Like when I ran the bases, I put my batting gloves in my hand so that way I didn't reach out and jam them.
Exactly. So that was our exposure from Terrence, which was great. It was awesome. Like, we still work with Terrence. We're excited to see where he gets picked up this coming up on the postseason, because someone who's in the race is going to take him, get that speed around the bases. But from there, Terrence wore him for that 2019 year. We have a guy on our team, Mark Zordling. He's our head of pro player engagement. He came on in 2020. He has a lot of connections. He used to be a player agent in the NHL, MLB, you name it. He knows Harrison Bader's old travel ball coach. So he was able to, hey, here's a pair of gloves. Can you get these to Harrison? Nobody knew who we were at the time. Harrison, of course, didn't know who we were, but slapped the gloves on Harrison's dining room table. Harrison tried them on. He had the long cuff pair, loved them. And then from there, we just kind of jumped into conversations, and Harrison became our first signature athlete. And then from there, it kind of went the same way with all the other guys, Ian and Brandon. It was kind of the same thing. They reached out to us. Brandon was actually a really funny story. He was injured at the time he started using our gloves, but our gloves have more protection because of the thicker leather that we use. Equipment manager and the trainer reached out to us. They just gave us a call one day. It was like, hey, this is the New York Mets. We need gloves. It was the craziest thing ever.
That's pretty cool. When you get that call, what goes through your head immediately?
Well, he's the one who got the call, so you can answer that one. But I know that when he told me he was talking to the Mets, because I looked over, I heard him talking. I was like, who are you talking to? He's like, the Mets. And I immediately was like, I was in shock. But then,
everything that happens with this company is incredible and shocking and surreal. And so I'd say, when you get that call, it's disbelief, but you're trying to keep your composure and make sure that you can take care of them. But yeah, in the very beginning, it was very surreal is the word I would use. Now it's kind of commonplace, which is also very surreal. But we're more, I guess, prepared for taking the calls and not sounding like crazy fans.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, does starstruck kind of come in sometimes, Bear, when you're out there and talking to some of these, young studs that are on the field, and, especially with Bader when he was in New York, obviously.
In the beginning, It was a little bit like that. I'm fortunate that because of our good family friend Trey Hillman, I've been on a lot of major league fields even before Bruce Bolt. So I'd kind of gotten the experience of meeting a whole bunch of major leaguers and getting past that point of starstruck. Obviously, meeting Harrison for the first time was still just like the craziest thing ever. It was really cool, but I was able to keep my composure, thankfully. But there's a sense of it for sure. It's gotten a lot better the more we've grown because a lot more traveling and a lot more just like you start to realize these guys are just normal guys. Um, Especially within baseball, these guys are just like at the end of the day, they're just a normal guy like you. They're just swinging a bat on a ball really hard. So, but it's really cool because you meet them and they're basically you realize they're just guys you can hang out with at the end of the day.
So I know you played baseball before everything kind of happened with Bruce Bolt. When you were on the field after meeting all these like professional players and as you're going through and like building this company, were you still playing baseball at that time? And did it kind of like make it easier for like on-field experiences or like things that are happening to you on the field while you're actually playing? Did it kind of make it like oh, this is just like, we're just playing baseball?
My baseball career ended just like, so 2020 was the year everything kind of took off. And that's when I finally met all these guys. That was my last year of baseball and that was cut short because of COVID. So I had no experience of playing baseball while I was getting to meet these guys. But it definitely changes the way, like getting to talk to these guys and see their mindsets definitely changed the way that if I were to have been playing still, the way that I looked at the game, for sure.
If you were to go back and play right now, based off of what you know now and the conversations that you've had with these big league guys, what are some things that you would maybe tell your high school self?
I honestly tell myself just to relax. It's not that deep. It's a big thing that I've with talking to the three main guys that we have, Nimmo, Bader, and Hap. I mean, they all kind of have this common kind of way of explaining the game is just relax and just go out there and do it. I've heard from you, Coach Rack, is it's like it's a game of failure. You just go out there and you do it, and if you fail, just think about it for a second, then wipe it off and move on to the next one. But honestly, because I'd get stressed out about baseball almost to the point where I puked before games. And so if I were to go back, and I kind of started thinking this way my end of junior year, senior year, but it's just a game. Just go out there and perform. And honestly, that's going to help you perform better. My approach at the plate would have changed for sure. I would have changed it to what Bader said, which was, think about it for a second and then just swing away. Because I would think about it too much. But yeah, definitely just take it easy on yourself and just play the game.
So Gard, when you watched, I mean, obviously we've known each other for, I want to say 3 years now, 3-ish. We started stalking, I want to say right during COVID for the most part. When I first met you, Bear was just, I mean, I know he wasn't a young kid, but he was still a young kid. He was still in his teens and whatnot. Watching him grow up from then to now, obviously we've seen a huge drastic change just from watching you. I've watched your podcast, I've seen how you talk and how much more professional you are. Does that come from kind of dealing with some of these guys at, these big names, or is that just kind of Bear growing up, or is it all the above?
I think it's all of the above. Bear and I have had a really, I think, interesting and incredible journey in terms of just as a father and a son, as well as being business partners. And there's really two different dynamics there. And I think when the company took off, it was really, it was interesting because Bear had been doing everything for about a year and a half. He was the one that would wake up in the morning. He would check the orders. He would pack the orders. Usually I would go and drop them off for him. He'd go to school, he'd go to baseball, he'd come home, and we just rinse and repeat it over and over and over again. And really the only kind of discourse that we had about Bruce Bolt was on the weekends. And, I'd talk about sales with him. I'd ask him what he was doing for marketing. A lot of it I didn't even understand because it was all, basically Instagram and all this stuff. But we would just kind of talk about it and, talk about reaching out to friends and seeing if they would buy him. And all of it was just so that he could have gas money, right? It was trying to earn him enough money to get gas money. And then in 2020, when the video dropped, that kind of changed everything. At first there was a lot of excitement. Bear he went from selling 4 pairs of gloves to 80 pairs of gloves in a day. And then, within a week and a half, 2 weeks, I think all of the gloves that we had ordered, we'd ordered 1,000 pairs of gloves, only adult sizes, and we thought that would last him through college. And again, just get a couple $100 of money a week for his car. And we had to make a decision, and thank God, well, it's a weird way of saying it, but COVID hit, which was actually really good timing for us because it shut everything down, but gave us enough time to go and order order gloves if we were going to do it. So to make a long story short, as a family, we decided to do it. And we actually had to take a mortgage out against the house in order to kind of order enough pairs to kind of make it happen. And so it was a really big family decision. And because of that, Karen and I, Bear's mom, my wife, we stepped in and started helping Bear because he couldn't fulfill 100 orders a day. And there's a lot more that was going into it. And as a result, Bear felt like he lost control of the company, which kind of changed the dynamic of me and Bear as a father and a son. And I think he felt a little animosity towards me.
I didn't like him for a little bit, is
Yeah.
what he's trying to say.
Gard, let me stop you right there. I have a 15-year-old kid, and he hasn't liked me for a little bit either. So
it works out. And so Bear ended up going off to school. And when he left for school, we talked to him and I had a discussion with him like, Bear, we're partners in this company. And no matter what you decide, you're always going to be a partner. But if you don't want to do this anymore, we made a commitment to get it done. And we're financially at risk here. I said, but you're always going to have, you're the founder of this company and you're always going to be a part of it. And you're always going to reap the rewards of your 50%. And so long story, again, short, is that he ended up going off to school. He matured a lot in that 1 year. And when he came back, I think he understood what he had, and everything has been really awesome since. And I mean, I think we're father, son, but we're really good friends. I mean, we went out and played golf yesterday and had a great time. And when we're in the workplace, we respect each other as basically co-workers. I'm not his dad. He's not my son. He calls me Gard at work, and we kind of it's kind of joking and fun, and we just get stuff done. And then when we go home, it's
It's dinner time.
Yeah, we're friends, and it's dinner time, and we just kind of go off and do our thing. So Bear's definitely matured a lot. I think as a parent, so have I.
That's good stuff, man.
I think everybody, as we grow up, especially, I couldn't imagine doing it in a business setting. I mean, I've done it as a coach and coaching my kid and having those inner battles and trying to figure out what's the difference between coach and dad. But between business partner and dad, that's a whole nother level that I don't know, a lot of people can really make it through. So you guys are doing great.
Yeah, we are very blessed. One of the biggest things is when he came back from school, I talked with his mom, Karen, right? And we just decided, we're like, listen, he's a man now. He's got his own business. We have to just treat him like he's a man, and he's going to make his own decisions, and some of them will be good, some of them won't. Hopefully he's going to ask us for help, when he has a tough question, but we just have to let him be. And so, yeah, he's, like I said, he's matured a lot, and I think our relationship's 1,000 times better. And, especially with all of the stress that comes along with running a business, where a lot of times we had no idea if what we were going to do or what we were doing was working. And we didn't know if, in a week we weren't going to have sales. And so it's definitely a very stressful kind of process to get going. And we're lucky that at least for now it's worked out.
Walk me through a little bit. You mentioned I think it was 2020, you said there was some video that took you guys from just a couple pairs a day to 80 pairs or something. What was that?
It was a video. Have you heard of Whistle Media?
I don't think so.
So Whistle Media is a production company out in New York. They used to work, I don't know if they still do, but I knew them from Dude Perfect. They used to do a lot of work with Dude Perfect and produce those videos. But they worked with Tanner Carson, who is Raised in Baseball on Instagram, who we're actually good friends with. He was one of our first orders ever, and we've worked with him very closely since from the very beginning. But they worked with Tanner. They went and did a video on Tanner for one of their other series called No Days Off. Tanner then recommended that they talk to me, and they shot me a DM. I didn't see it for a couple of days because I forgot to check DMs. but they were like, hey, we want to come down to Austin. We'd love to, do a shoot with you and, get your story out there. I ended up bringing it up at dinner one night, just kind of very nonchalantly, like, hey, Dad, this company's I got back to him, said yes, but I was like, hey, Dad, this company's going to come down and, do a video. And he had all these questions. How much is it going to cost us? When did you decide this? Whatever it was. They ended up coming down in October. Was it October of 2019? They came down October 2019. I'm in the middle of my school year, getting ready for baseball. And, they filmed some stuff at the house when we were selling 2 gloves a day. We're actually in the house that they came and filmed at, but did some shots, me packing some gloves, working on the website, whatever it is that I was doing at the time. They came to our baseball field up at my school, got some shots of all of us playing, had my friends talk about the gloves. And then they're like, okay, awesome, we got our stuff. We'll get back to you soon. We ended up not hearing from them again until January of 2020. So, in our heads, we were kind of like, maybe they just scrapped it, And they got back to me in January. All they said was video is going to release on February 6th. It was like, thank you, awesome. What else do you guys need? Really didn't tell us anything else past that. The thought was we get a couple hundred Instagram followers, like, oh, people see this and think it's cool. They'll follow us on Instagram. And then February 6th rolls around. I think the day before I had a record day, we sold 4 pairs of gloves. And then the next day, it's February 6th. I'm sitting in English class, and all I can feel is my phone buzzing in my pocket. My ringer was on, and my Shopify app made a ka-ching noise every time we had a sale. So that's going crazy. I had to throw my phone in the hallway. I ended up getting a call from my dad after class. He's like, Bear, we're at like 60 sales right now, or whatever it was when he called me. And it was just like in that moment, like it was just kind of shock, because here I am, 2 gloves a day, four gloves the day before. Now I'm at 60 to 80.
Was this all from like a YouTube video or a TikTok or Instagram or what?
It was all from that YouTube video that Whistle Media posted, which I think it's one of their most viewed videos on their My Hustle thing the segment that they have. But for whatever reason, that video took off, and they said it was one of the most positively viewed videos that they've ever had. I mean, if you go and look at the comments, sure, there's some mean ones here and there. Who's not going to have mean comments on a video? But very positive reviews. And I mean, for whatever reason, it just took off. We're very fortunate for it, very blessed that video came out, because without it, I mean, who knows? I'd probably still be making $100 a day for gas money.
I think the funniest thing about that, he talks about mean comments. When you go through the comments, you'd find these people that would say things like, oh, this is just his dad, they're using him for marketing and all these things. But what they didn't understand was they were commenting on a kid who literally the day before had 2 sales. So there wasn't like this was any successful company. And I mean, it was so bad that we didn't have, on like the first day, we didn't have enough like shipping materials in order to ship all the gloves. Like we had to go and get shipping materials. And then we were like, well, it was probably just one day.
No.
And then the next day it happens and we're like, oh God, we got to get more shipping material. And we're sitting here and we're like, how much is this shipping stuff costing us? Like we'd never even like considered any of it. It was really, it was interesting. It was surreal. It was funny to kind of read the comments, because we're like,
comments, yeah, the comments, Trey Hillman, who's bounced around the league, he was in the video talking about the gloves, because he's one of the first people I ever went to with the gloves. And, they did a little segment on him. And in the comment section, I guess some people didn't watch the video too closely, but they're like, well, no wonder he's in the MLB. His dad's a manager. Like talking. Yeah, I was like, well, no, my dad's actually just a. There was one comment, I didn't even recognize the name. Some kid goes, oh, he's just a rich kid. I know him. I go to school with him. And videos just were really out of pocket comments that. They were really funny, but then there were also some really good ones.
Yeah, very, very kind and encouraging and supportive.
But it's fun to go back and look at those comments sometimes. Sometimes we'll do it and just go back and laugh at them.
Because really, they had no idea what they were commenting on. Like, we were literally, their Bear was down making 2 sales a day. Like, most of them were to his friends, too, which was great. So,
wow. Yeah. That's so funny. And, actually, I feel I can actually relate to you guys on like a very specific level. Because, when that video blew up of me getting signed, it was of my dad and I, And oh yeah, the comments, I saw everything you can imagine. It was like, oh, that's not actually his dad. Oh, this was staged. Wow, this is really bad acting. Like, I got everything. Like, all right, like people online are so funny. And I mean, obviously now I just make content full time, and I mean, gosh, people crack me up. You get some interesting comments, to say the least. But that's super cool, though. I didn't realize that was what really turned around. Well, not turned around, but really just, gave you your first, really just shot you into space, it seems like. And it's cool that content was able to, I guess, be part of what made that possible. And I think it's being able to tell a story. I haven't watched that video yet. I'm excited to go watch it, but I can imagine that by people seeing the process and seeing who you are and seeing your face, like, that's powerful for people. That's the kind of thing that builds customers that don't just buy one time. That's the kind of thing that builds this brand loyalty, I think, that can last a really long time. And from what I've noticed, the people who have tried Bruce Bolt batting gloves, they stick with Bruce Bolt batting gloves. And that's, I think, partially not just because of the quality of the product, but also because of what the brand is and what it represents. And when I mentioned this when I was on the podcast with you guys a little while ago, a couple weeks back, but when I first got introduced to the batting gloves, it was just a kid I was giving lessons to. And he was like, hey man, these are the best batting gloves I've ever tried. You got to get a pair. And he bought me a pair, And so, that's really cool on my end, getting to see kind of the backstory, because again, even though we've worked together and I know you guys, and, it's like, I didn't even know a lot of that history. So that's really cool to hear.
The first time we ever had our our first face-to-face Zoom meeting, they were sitting at their kitchen table, and it was this young kid on the other end who looked nervous as all get out. And we're nervous on top of it because we're like talking to we're thinking it's a huge monster company at this time. And then now to come to find out they're only selling 2 gloves out of their basement at the time.
The thing that's cool about the company is that we actually haven't grown in terms of the number of employees. And the fact is the house that Bear grew up out in is actually the house that we office out of. So we moved a little bit further out into the country, but we kept this house because it was kind of the central location for people to come into. And so it's kind of great. We still do work around our kitchen table, and it kind of keeps it. I think it's a point of perspective on who we are, and doesn't, I think it keeps us grounded, even with the success that we're now having.
Oh, it's great to hear that. I mean, in Rack, you guys kind of have similar stories, the way that your social media blew up, the way that you guys kind of started off your businesses. But I think a lot of people forget about all the hard work that goes in just after the video. Like, the video is just the beginning, and then it's the road and the ladder up to where you have to go from there to how do I keep growing and how do we keep building the company, and what do we have to do what was your first step after that video hit to be like, if we're going to do this, we're going to take the mortgage out. But I know that there was conversation before, like the second mortgage on your house and all that such. When you run out of gloves and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do, what was your mindset at?
We literally didn't know what to do. We actually figured out on the website that we could do a pre-order function, but we knew it was going to take at least 90 days to get the gloves in. And then literally, so if you think about it, it was February 6th, about 2 weeks into it, we almost got to basically March 1st of 2020, people were saying that, you had to be, there was the lockdown, right? Everybody had masks on. Everybody was scared to go outside. And that kind of lasted all the way to June. And so it just so happened, I mean, we called up our factory and we said, how quickly can you get us, 10,000 pairs of gloves? And we said, just make them as fast as you can. And so we literally got them in July of 2020 is when, I think, I would say like May actually is kind of when we started seeing people coming and buying from the site again. And we still had the pre-order on. And I think in June 1st, we got the gloves. I remember the three of us we used to sell them in cardboard boxes. Mm-hmm. And there was like a little bit of volume to them. And so, whereas we can probably take, 1,000 pairs of gloves now and we can put them in like 10 mail cartons, we actually had to do, I think when we had all the pre-orders that came in, we had to do like 1,000 or 2,000 pairs of gloves that we had to pack up. And it must have taken us like 6 times down to the post office, like with 2 or 3 trucks. I mean, it was craziness. And those were things that we also had to figure out. We're like, hold it, these boxes don't make any sense. We can't do this. Because if we start scaling and this becomes normal, you can't have 1,000 pairs of gloves sitting in our dining room because we had no more dining room anymore.
It sounds to me like there came a point in time where you guys had to make a decision where it's like, okay, either there is no, it's either this is going to be a big thing or it's not going to be a thing at all. There's no, there, it didn't seem like there was really no option to just keep doing what you were doing. You had to kind of scrap everything and adapt and create this giant model to fit the demand. It was either that or just really not sell them at all. And so that's just got to be I can imagine that's a bit of a scary position to be in. It's like, you got to put all of your eggs in this one basket and it's going to work, but it's going to, like, you got to figure out everything along the way. Like, I feel like that's a common theme that I've seen with people who have such, tremendous success. There a lot of times comes a point in time where you have to make that leap and there's kind of a point of no return. Was that the repackaging and like deciding to use, stop using the boxes or whatever? Like, was that and order the what was it, 10,000 pairs? I feel like that's like a point of no return. That's kind of like, okay, we're doing this thing. Was there any conversations during that time period where you guys were thinking about like kind of scrapping it and being like, okay, that's that. Like, we don't want to undertake this entire project, or what was kind of the conversations then?
The conversations never really turned towards scrapping anything. We kind of, it was said, should we scrap this or should we keep going? And immediately we said, let's keep going with it. And then from there, never looked back. And then we started to make the decisions of what do we do instead of a box? And then we went to the bag that we now have, and, just kept on, upgrading and getting better. And, to where we are now. So, like the glove has changed a lot too. So there's been there's never been the thought of going back, just the thought of getting better and just, continuing to see where we can take this.
Well, do you remember what happened with the Natural series? So we ordered 10,000 and then those were gone in a matter of, like, we could tell at the pace, and we didn't really have software to measure things properly at the time. And so I thought 10,000 was for sure like, hey, this will last us 2 years kind of thing. And that was not the case.
No.
And so after about 4 weeks, I sat down with Karen and Bear again. I'm like, hey guys, based on the sales that we're getting, we literally have 2 more months of inventory and we've got to order again. And at that point, so we couldn't take out another mortgage. So we actually went to Shopify was offering, because they were seeing our sales. And so they had like you don't have to show any personal information or anything. You can basically hit a button and at a very, very high interest rate, they'll give you a loan. And so we went to someone across the street who is actually a CFO for a very big oil and gas company here. And we're like, hey, can you help us run these numbers? How much money do we need in order to kind of get this to flywheel so that we'll now kick off enough cash flow to hopefully cash flow this thing so we don't have to take any more loans? Because right now we're up to our eyeballs in debt. And so he helped us figure it out. And I think it ended up that we needed another $150,000. And he showed us kind of this whole model that he put together. And he's like, based on your sales and your growth and all of these things, if you do this, you'll be able to pay off the debt in 6 months and you'll have enough cash flow to keep on growing at kind of this rate. And lo and behold, I guess the reason he's a CFO for a big, huge oil and gas company, because he was dead on. And so not only were we able to pay that off, but we paid off the mortgage as well. And so right now, 4 years later, we've been operating 100% off of cash flow, debt free, and we've never taken any equity in either. So that's kind of a point of pride for us. And we've been able to kind of now add on team members and so it's something that Bear's been learning about. It's something that is, as an entrepreneur all my life, has never been an easy thing to do. And the fact that we're there, it speaks to maybe a little bit of experience that I've had and being able to pass on to him. And also just being blessed and very fortunate for the product working. And he designed an incredible product that people want.
I can totally relate to the whole in the office. We had pallets being delivered to our houses at one point in time with baseball bats. And I didn't know, we were in our basements and in our garages at the time. and we had these big monster pallets deliver for one booking order. It was right during the USA transition where Little League went to USA Baseball. So everybody was ordering tons and tons and tons of USA bats. And I'm thinking to myself, on paper, these numbers don't look like I can't put them in my basement. But when a freight truck shows up,
Yeah.
and they're unloading these into your garage, and your wife's coming home, and you have all of these bats just laid out all the way throughout the living room, into the kitchen, into the foyer, you start to get a little bit of a panic mode as to, I think we need to get out of our house at that point in time. So obviously you guys have found different ways to go about that. And I believe you guys use a 3PL, correct?
Yes.
Which actually helps your shipping, which is amazing because they can ship anywhere throughout the United States within like a day or two. So your shipping is extremely fast, by the way, which is awesome. But moving into that train, did you guys ever contemplate kind of getting into like your own building and growing into like doing your own shipping, or was it just too much volume that you kind of had to make a decision?
It's been considered moving into our own building for sure.
Yeah, I would say that what we have tried to do is minimize distractions, and we didn't want to get distracted with trying to become our own our own fulfillment center. Frankly, we just don't know anything about it, and hiring those people and having to manage them was going to take off we have we have minimal resources in terms of team members, right? So we're up to about 10 right now. But at the time when we made that transition, it was just me, Bear, and Karen. And so we just couldn't do it anymore. And I'll tell you what, I mean, we can one-up you on the story that you just told. We for whatever reason, in Christmas of 2021, we thought that all of our fulfillment center needs were taken care of by September. We thought we had everything all set. And then something went wrong. And basically what happened was a lot of our orders, I know what it was. It was just because of COVID and shipping. And so what happened was all of the orders started coming to our house. They couldn't go to the fulfillment center for whatever reason. They were coming to our house, and we started doing a remodel. So we had no kitchen. We had like one bathroom in the house. We were living upstairs, and it was during Christmas of 2021, which at the time in November and December, we sold more than we did the entire year of 2020. So in 2 months, we sold more than we had sold the entire year before. And all of that was sitting in our house while there was a remodel being done. By the way, we always have allowed people to come to the house or office to come meet Bear and to see the global headquarters and to buy a pair of gloves from us. And so, I mean, we had a refrigerator in our dining room where we had 5 people, all Bear's friends, that were helping with customer service because it was getting so out of hand. It was a shit show, to say the least. But we managed our way through it. It was pretty crazy.
We did. It was the longest December of my life.
That's right. I mean, literally waking up at 6 in the morning, going to bed at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, I remember my breaking point of being in my garage was there was a new Mike and Worth release, and we ordered probably 1,000 bags, and they dropped them off. And I literally called Ken, and I was like, "All right, I've had enough. We got to get a building."
Yeah, we can't put these here.
I was like, I have nowhere else to put these in my house. I was like, I was working in my kitchen. My office was in my kitchen. My whole garage was like a storefront. Like I had racks, aisles that you could walk down. And I was also taking care of my newborn at the time. So I was watching her packing bats and bags and all that. And I was like, all right, Ken. I was like, we got to do something. I was like, I have no more room in this house, and I got to get out of here. I was like, this has to be a thing now. So I feel that.
I think every entrepreneur at some point in time goes through that mindset of like, are we going to go big here, or are we just going to kind of back off and let it flow? Like, how big do you really want to go? How much time are you willing to invest? And do you have the opportunity to succeed in the actual field that you're going into? I know, Rack, when you were going through everything and you kind of made a promise to yourself at that point where you're going to post once a day, all summer long, see what happened, and it worked out well for you. You guys took a second mortgage out on your home, and it ended up working out pretty damn good, I'd say. And then, with HB, like we just are constantly like, if I could work on cash flow, man, oh my God, I'd be living the dream. That'd be amazing. Let's come talk to that CFO.
I mean, yeah, it's cool hearing those stories in the behind the scenes, you know, the boxes in the kitchen and the living room. And like when I started content last year, it was like for the first 9 months, I was filming in my parents' living room, and like that room was just packed full of my camera stuff and lighting equipment and stuff like that. And my videos look all like polished and like, you know, professional. And like reality, I'm just like living at my parents' house, just like making coaching videos every day because I lost my job earlier that year. So it was like, yeah, it's cool hearing those behind the scenes. And I think for anyone out there, you know, who's maybe in that period, that time period of like, you know, just figuring it out, just, yeah, it's cool to see the success stories on the light at the end of the tunnel for sure. So for you guys, what's next now for Bruce Bolt? What are your sights set on? What are you guys excited about? You know, that you could share with us, of course.
Before you go any further, my son is making a request for football batting glove or for football gloves. Said it has to come.
Your son might be in luck. We had a discussion about this the other day, kind of just like as a team, everyone here. But you know, we've looked at a couple of different routes. I think right now we like the idea. Obviously, we're a bat and glove company. That's what we're gonna keep heading into hard. You know, we've got a lot of ideas. We just opened up a new series called the Creator Series. I know we talked with Rack about that, but we may or may not have a Coach Rack glove coming at some point. Might just be kind of a little bit of a series for me to, you know, go kind of crazy with designs, whatever, you know, if we want to do collaborations or anything. So we opened that up. So we're diving deeper into the gloves than we already have. We're working on pretty heavily right now is elevated apparel. We've had apparel in the past. We've had shirts, shorts, you know, whatever it is, but none of it has been up to our standards of being premium like our gloves. So we're currently working with our head designer, her name is Maggie. She's been working very hard, doing a great job, working with these factories. We finally have shirts that we think are as premium as our gloves. We'll have to get y'all some when they come in. But they're absolutely incredible. You'll feel them. You'll love them. I say it's like wearing a blanket, but they're absolutely incredible. But just elevated apparel. We're kind of moving more towards that apparel side of things, an athleisure, if you want to call it that.
Some Lululemon.
Yeah, like a Lululemon-esque kind of company, but kind of athletic specific to baseball. With the football gloves comment, we've actually, funny enough, I've had a lot of agents that I know reach out to me and be like, "Hey, are you guys considering football gloves? I've got a couple of guys who may or may not be NFL players who would love to rep a Bolt on their hand."
Can we leak that? Do we have any names?
Don't know if I can mention the names. I don't know. I don't know if the rules are there. But if I find out I can name drop, I will name drop. We've also been working very closely on golf gloves. You know, we released a golf glove already, and it did really well. It was kind of like, it was a request. You know, everyone was like, "Hey, you guys should make a golf glove." So we kind of just did it. It was a little bit of a gift for, like, you know, friends. And then, you know, we put it on the website. People can buy it if they want. We didn't expect it to do as well as it did. So we made a decision, my dad and I, with how big we are into golf now. Let's go and make an elevated golf glove. So we've been working very closely with Maggie on designing a golf glove that is as premium as our batting glove. So we'll start looking more into, you know, not becoming a golf company, but having an elevated golf glove. That's kind of the route we're on right now. As for, you know, other things within baseball, we'll make our way there eventually. But as of right now, we are focused on the apparel and kind of, you know, going for football and golf on the side as well.
Good for you guys, man. That's great to hear. And I think going to the route that you were talking about, like, people, when they go to your website, they expect premium. So you can't just go out there and put a $5 t-shirt on your site and expect people to be happy. So I think you guys are doing a great job all the way across the board. I know we have a ton of your products coming back in here in stock, probably within the next week or so. Just a little, put that in there. You know, you can go to headbangersports.com and buy all your, you know, premium. We don't have any of the Creator Series and stuff yet, but I could see like a cool rock glove being made. We might have to discuss that.
Not opposed. Not opposed.
Gard, what's your next move in this whole ordeal? I mean, I know you worked hand in hand with directly with Bear, and you guys are partners and such, but you also have like, is this what you do full time now, or are you still doing your own thing on the side? I mean, how does this all work out for you guys?
No, well, so part of what happened in 2020 was we had to make a decision, and there was such a commitment that this is something that I do full time. I think really where I sit in this is Bear is, he's the face, he's the designer. He's really kind of, he's the direction he's the one that's deciding the direction of the company kind of tactically. I've been behind the scenes more strategically in helping them in doing things like helping to put a team together. We've got an unbelievable cast of characters behind the scenes that are helping Bear every day. And so I was kind of instrumental in doing that. I really, really enjoy the strategy behind this. So this philosophical discussion on what this company has been something that we've been talking about for a good 2 months, because at one point, we started off as a batting glove, but then, are we a baseball company? Are we trying to become a Marucci? Or are we a company that makes gloves, and we make the best gloves, and then behind that we've got accessories that complement, other sports? And I don't know if we definitely even have an answer to it yet. I know Bear kind of seemed pretty confident in what he was saying there, but
it was as confident as I could be.
That's right.
Actually, I just made it come off more confident than it might have been.
Right. So, I mean, we're a very, very young company. We're a very young company. I think we're having a ton of fun doing what we're doing and just trying to kind of navigate the decisions that have to be made. I mean, every day you've got choices that you have to make that could, make this an incredible success, or could ruin the company because you did something that was, out of line in terms of like what people know you for. And they say, oh, well, now they're not really a baseball batting glove company. So, if you go onto our site right now, the golf gloves that we have, we made a strategic decision to call them off-season gloves because we don't want people to think that we're losing focus off of baseball, right? Because we are a baseball company right now. But, there's a number of people, because Bear's made a lot of connections and agents and people that we know, that there's a bunch of golfers that are willing to try this, I would say, the first batch of the real gloves that we're making, because we kind of we didn't put a lot of thought into the first gloves. We made sure we were using premium material and that they were made similar to our batting gloves, but they weren't with thought around being a golfer. And so, this next version that's coming out, we've got a ton of PGA, and I guess they're everybody's PGA again now, but guys that were on both tours that were willing to try the gloves and give us feedback, and maybe even take on the role of a Bader or a Nimmo or a Hap. In that we would create a signature series for them, and they'd kind of be our main guys to promote it, which we think is a little bit of the secret sauce of what's, happened with our, with at least the early success of the glove and getting it out there.
You guys have some decisions to make, that's for sure. I'm not sure which way that's going to go, but I think you guys will find a way to be successful with whichever way it is, because everything you guys have done so far has been great. I think you guys took the market by storm. I've never seen, especially at a batting glove level or an apparel level or anything to that extent, where somebody came into a market and absolutely just made a splash like you guys did. You did a lot of great things. I know, I'm going to give a shout out to Anthony, who kind of set us up together. He set us up with Rack. He's a great guy behind the scenes that does a lot for you guys, and what he's done on the affiliate side of things compared to what you guys have done on the grassroots program. Everything's just kind of fallen hand over hand and just gone. It's been perfect. So there's always going to be bumps in the road. And I say perfect, but I know you guys are like, it's not always been that way. But there's always bumps in the road for all of us. And you guys find a way to, go over those bumps pretty easy. And the quality of your gloves is amazing. If anybody hasn't tried them out, they can buy them at headbangersports.com. If we don't have them, you can go to bruceboltus.com. It's bruceboltus.com, right?
Yes, sir. bruceboltus.us.
Yeah, bruceboltus.us. And, there's I think if you haven't tried them or you haven't seen them at the field, you haven't been playing baseball or softball or slow pitch, because I haven't been to a single game in probably 2 years and not seen at least
everywhere.
one pair somewhere. So you guys are doing fantastic.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, we appreciate the support. I think the secret to the success of what's happened at Bruce Bolt was, one, we tried to design. I mean, we worked and we keep on continuing to make changes. People don't even know, but every batch has a slight alteration to it. But we're trying to make the best batting gloves using the highest quality material that we can find. We think the design is kind of like, it's definitely changed the game. I mean, a lot of people have copied Bear's long cuff design now. I mean, like, that's just a fact.
Literally, we were talking about that earlier, with how many companies have literally gone that route with the long cuff since y'all introduced it.
Well, when Bear came out with it, all he wanted to do was create a long cuff. And it's like, Bear, not everybody is going to like this long cuff design. And I really think you need to hedge your bet and have a short cuff design. Like, these are the things like that. That's all I was able to kind of add. And so he went and designed a short cuff as well. But, now what's happening is, I think that it's, probably a little bit of a split, right?
It's gone past the split now. It was a split for a little bit. Now I'd say it's probably closer to like 55-45 long cuff to short cuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, the fact that people enjoy that design and they see the benefits of it, I think that for him, it's got to feel really, really good, because it was 100% his idea. And then, but to see these other companies kind of copying, a little bit frustrating, right?
It's frustrating, but it's cool at the same time, because never in a million years would I think that, the Franklin batting gloves I was using when I was 16 years old would now be, copying my design and coming out with a version of their own. Like, it's cool. It's flattering, frustrating, but flattering. It's a cool thing to see that a company that big has noticed a company that I started.
But I think the last thing that I was trying to say is, like, the success that we've had has been because we've tried to make the best product that we can. And I say tried because you can't be perfect, and, it's never perfect. But then I think we've also got an awesome customer support team, which, by the way, you mentioned Anthony. He's incredible on the affiliate side, but he's also incredible on the customer service side. And so our team, we just expanded it by double. I think we've got twice as many customer service people than we have like people that work in the office, right? And so they're an incredible team, and we believe that customer service support is as important as the product itself. And then the last thing, and this is really the key, is that Bear's story is compelling, and I'm very, very proud of him. But I also think that what I'm most proud of is that he's been able to stay very humble, and he shows humility. And I think that's kind of the point of our company, is that we're not out there saying that we're the best and we're taking down the world and we're going to do this. We're just trying to make really good products for people, so that, I think the best thing for me is to see a little kid try these gloves on and the big smile that they get when they come over to the house. It's just it's the coolest thing. And to know that Bear's the one that did that and I was able to support him to do it, it's kind of, I don't know. I think that's kind of what it's all about for me. I mean, as big as this might get, it's just seeing like a little kid try them on and like them.
No, you're watching your son grow up into a man, and he's doing fantastic in what he's doing, and that's the only thing that we can ask for as parents, I think, is to see our kids be successful and do the right things. And I'm going to add to kind of the growth of the company, because I know this year you guys have teamed up for Military Worlds. We've all teamed up, and we are actually donating a Cane Corso to a wounded veteran this year, and it's going to be in Texas. Yeah. So every year, everybody kind of, one dog pretty much gets donated for the last two. I think we missed 1 year during COVID or something.
Yeah,
like
we
that.
missed 1 year.
Yeah.
Or two, I think.
So in the slow pitch industry, Military Worlds is a big thing. And I know, Bear, you had the first opportunity of kind of seeing what the slow pitch scene looks like, and understanding kind of how serious it's taken. But every year, that slow pitch scene kind of turns into a huge family, and everybody kind of comes together in the USSSA military world, and they put together a benefit and come up with the funds to donate a service dog to a wounded warrior or a wounded veteran, somebody that does need it. This year, I believe we're going to be in Texas when we donate that dog. Are you guys going to be there? Would be awesome. So I know Bruce Bolt's one of the main sponsors of that dog this year. And, you guys haven't said it one time, but I'm going to say it. The amount of stuff that you guys do for the all the locals in those, like with your professional series gloves and whatnot. I know every time you guys go there, I was listening to your podcast and you guys were actually saying how you donate. How many gloves is it per each city? I think
350 of them.
350 gloves in each city that they go to are donated to local kids that play. I don't know who those are donated to, but the grassroots side of things and giving back to the community and showing the love is what we've built this company on, which is one of the biggest things that we appreciate out of Bruce Bolt. Giving back to the community, customer service, making sure people are happy. You just said something about like seeing a kid put their Bruce Bolts on their hand for the first time. Like when we sell a pair of Bruce Bolts, we sell any kind of batting glove and a bat. We want that kid to feel like they made the right decision, that they're happy, and that it's going to help them in their game to succeed. And I think that you guys have that same mentality in everything you guys do. So, I wouldn't knock yourself for, don't forget to tell people that once in a while. It's okay.
Well, we appreciate it. I think one of the things that I told Bear or wanted to teach Bear early on was that, it's important to build a profitable company, and sometimes profit is considered a bad thing, but the reality is it employs people and it also gives you the ability to give back. And so the second part of that was that we made an effort very early on to try to donate. Originally it was donate a pair of gloves for every pair sold, but that became not a possibility because we were selling too many gloves and it was just too much of a resource drain. So we instead decided to go and look into donating in a lot of different areas. And so that's not something that we kind of publicize, but it is something that we take very seriously. And we've been able to kind of give back to, disadvantaged communities. We've been able to give back to, some memorial type things. And then also we really, really enjoy giving back to the military. We think it's incredibly important what they do for us, and to show a little bit of support for them is really, it's a drop in the bucket. I mean, it's an obvious thing to do. How about that? And
no, I 100% agree. And I think that's kind of, we're big supporters of the military. My dad was 25 years in the Army. I've lived that military brat life my whole life. And my grandfather was in the military. It was just kind of I was like that one black sheep that didn't go in, even though I wanted to go in type of deal. So anytime that we can give back, we're all about it. And, you guys are following that, and that we love that. So congratulations to you guys. Rack, do you have anything else?
Not much, man. I'm just, it's fun to see today, getting to see a little behind the scenes with you guys. And I feel honored to have these kinds of relationships with Bruce Bolt, with HB. It's just fun getting to hear everyone's story. And I feel blessed to be able to be in the loop.
Well, we appreciate all you guys. Headbanger was one of the very first retailers that we took on that were outside of two retailers that I knew. And it was a leap of faith a little bit, because back then, and we explained to you, we weren't set up to work with retail, number one. And number two is we didn't have the cash flow to go and just be a normal kind of vendor into your store. And you guys were incredible to work with and very understanding, and still are, because we still don't have everything perfect, but appreciate, everything that you guys have done for us 100%. And, Coach Rack, I'm excited, Bear and Anthony keep me up to date on everything, but, kind of listening to the podcast the other day and just seeing the success that you've had, we're very, very excited about working with you now and in the future. And I think that there's, great things to come for you as well. So it's just like we keep saying, we're just very fortunate. We're very happy, and it's been a ton of fun. And, just can't say enough about getting the support we get.
This industry is amazing. It really is. It's such a small community. And if you take care of one another, everybody takes care of each other here. So we're a big old happy family.
There you go, man. You love to see it. All righty. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Beyond the Fence podcast presented by Headbanger Sports. Gard, Bear, thank you for joining us. Mike, thanks for your one-liner. As always, Chris, it was a pleasure. Thanks, guys.